So for this week's assignment, I'm going to be doing it on my Sega 12 gauge shotgun. The serial number, the year of manufacture on this gun is, as you can see from right here, you're probably not going to see it up that close, but it's the two letters it begins with is 11. And on the Sega rifles and shotguns, they actually use the first two numbers in the serial number sequence to denote what year it was actually manufactured. This is a stamped, not milled receiver, even though there's a lack of rivets on it. That's a process that I've done myself as far as getting rid of the rivets and strengthening the platform. But this is a 2011 Sega 12 gauge shotgun. The action is a semi-automatic gas-operated short-stroke piston. The bore is a smooth bore. This is a closed bolt, hammer-fired, single-action, two-stage trigger. And of course, the sighting system on this, it uses a post and bead sight. I don't know if you can see down there. Yeah, you can kind of see a little post sight in there. But the bead is actually not on it right now. I'm in the process of changing that out from a, I had a night sight on it that had a piece of glowing tritium in it, and I'm going to be changing that out to probably like a brass sight or something. But using Magpul furniture, handguard. This, I don't know who made the front quad rail, but anyways, this thing is a power horse. We're going to go ahead and go over the field stripping procedure, which is pretty basic. The magazine's out, the safety's on. First thing we're going to do is pull it back. We'll lock the bolt with the bolt hold open and verify that the chamber is empty. Of course, when I look down there, chamber's empty. Okay, we'll go ahead and let that bolt forward. First thing to do is push this little button down and push that bolt carrier spring forward. Pop the top cover off, set it to the side. Push that out on the carrier spring, remove it, and your bolt can slide rearward. Pull your bolt out, let the hammer forward so we can get into the action there. As far as stripping the bolt, it's pretty simple. You just move it like that and pull it straight out. And that is this weapon field stripped. There's not a lot to them. You can also take the gas block out, but it's very difficult because you have a little puck in there that operates the short stroke piston. All right, so best way to do it is I take a old cleaning rod out of a AK-47, just run it down the gas tube setup, and as you push it, the gas puck will just slide forward. And this is actually an aftermarket Go gun gas puck that has serrations in the side to scrape any type of plastic material that can come up through the gas block when firing. But that is the field stripping process. Most of this information I've had, obviously this is a gun I've had for years. Initially when I first got into customizing to the Sega 12, and especially doing conversions, most of them ship into the country. They'll have two pins that run right here, and this actually holds the original trigger pack inside. And that's done to comply with, of course, border configurations in 922R, or Section 922R of the various firearms laws out there. And so what has to be done is this has to be moved forward. There's a trigger guard plate that's covered right here. So all this gets moved forward. What you're left with is two holes. I would go in and TIG weld these holes and, of course, get rid of all the rivets. I just hate rivets on an AK. I love a smooth-looking gun. As far as getting that information, I've just been studying it over the years from various sources like Russian American Arms, forums, reading the manuals, reading books on the Sega 12 and Sega rifles. It's a pretty reliable firearm and platform. The Segas are prone to a lot of issues due to the fact that sometimes they don't drill the gas holes, and they call them the vodka special, which I think would probably denote that somebody's been drinking vodka on shift making these. But that's pretty much the design. Once you get it running, it works great. This gas block here that goes in this gas plug. This is actually a spring-operated gas plug. I don't know if you can really see inside those holes, but this has an adjustable spring with a seal in there. And this, depending on what kind of load you're shooting or whatever, when you get this adjusted, this automatically compensates to allow just enough gas back. But the cool thing with these is they really don't vent off gas rapidly like an AK-47 does, because the gas stays in this chamber area and of course is trapped in this puck. This puck is what actually impacts the back of this bolt and pushes it back. Well, because of that, sometimes they can get over gas, sometimes they can still be under gas, so you just got to open this up, pretty decent, and I think you use about 1/8 of an inch drill bit. Put your 4 holes or 3 holes in there, and then you set in one of these. These gas pucks are great because they keep plastic shavings off the side and keeps it from sticking. Then, of course, this goes in and helps regulate the proper amount of gas flow. Once it reaches over a certain pressure, it's vented through the front of these holes, which are right here and right there. So it actually helps make this a very reliable platform and does not stick. It's still ammo sensitive. If you're shooting like cheap Winchester Walmart rounds, they're going to stick inside the chamber. But if you're using, you know, like Federal 1 1/8 or a little bit better of a round that has a little bit harder, tougher, thicker plastic on the hull, this thing is going to cycle as fast as you can squeeze the trigger. So I love the platform. Some people don't like them because they can't get them to work, but I've just applied a science to it over the years, and I can get this puppy to run. So that's it as far as my presentation goes. Consider the challenges you might face when presented with a firearm you've never seen before by a customer. So, I mean, for me, it took me about a good year learning curve for these Sega 12s, and you know, if I would have been working in a gun store at a time as a smith and been brought one of these by a customer that's having problems with reliability, that would have been a really big issue, because there's so many problems that go into these, and like I said, it probably took me a year to fully grasp this entire system and know it inside and out to where I can make it work reliably. So there's a lot of reading that has to be done, and if you're going to be working on these Sega 12s, you're going to have to be a pretty astute researcher to get the proper information to make these things tick. Some of them work great, some of them don't. It just depends on what time of night they were made or what time of day they were made. And I think the work standards over in Russia are a lot different than what they are here in the United States. And like I said, a lot of people would call these the Vodka Special. You'd get them, they wouldn't even run, because like this shotgun, when I bought this is my personal one, it didn't have any gas holes drilled in the barrel. So it was just solid bore all the way through. There were no gas holes, so I had to, you know, pull the gas block out, drill the holes, you know, angle them at the appropriate direction. It's about a 30-degree angle. You want to get those on there, so that way you don't pick up anything from the shells coming in, because there's really susceptible to a lot of unburnt powder and debris that'll get in here, and of course also plastic wadding material can be stripped off as well. Like I said, you also have to hone your barrel after you do that, because you're going to have some protrusions inside the bore. So it's other than that, once you get that done, this is a really reliable running gun. So anyways, that would be my thing. And of course, if there are any other challenges with another gun, is you're going to have to know the system. You're going to have to break it down, look at a schematic, know what parts are there, know the cycle of operations and what's going on. If the customer's having a problem or whatever, you're going to have to diagnose that. So knowing the cycle of operations with everything, and the unique features of the gas system and all that, are going to put together a combination of examples for the smith to be able to fix and repair the system. So before I forget, the last prompt we were asked to discuss is where we can access the owner's manual. I actually have this owner's manual and many more I'm still working on uploading, but I keep it on my personal blog, the gunsci.com, the gunpsy.com. Other sources you can get it, I do believe Russian American Arms, you should be able to download the Sega shotgun and rifle series owner's manuals from them. All of them are pretty much the same. They cover all the same information for a series of guns. I'll go ahead and just cover the reassembly procedure after field stripping. So put your gas puck back in. There we go. Just screw your gas plug back on. There is a detent spring right here, and you got to get it onto the right detent. Normally on the factory style plugs, you would use this to adjust in and out to control the amount of gas, but since this is an auto gas plug, we just screw it all the way till it bottoms out, and then come counterclockwise till it sits in that detent. Go ahead and put this back in the carrier, the bolt back in the carrier, and then it's turned all the way like that, so that should be the front of your bolt. Turn off the safety, reset the hammer, push down and forward. And sometimes you got to make sure that this bolt is properly cycled in the right direction, because it's going to hit on the ejector otherwise. Go ahead and put the carrier spring back in place. And comes the fun part. Check it. Getting this top cover back on. Go ahead, verify it's still unloaded. Go ahead and do a function check. Fires. Alright, the disconnector for the hammer is working. There we go. Go ahead and put the safety back on. Set the magazine in. And there we have a fully assembled Sega 12.